Evening, lates.
Good evening, Nick.
Nick Layton.
And good evening, Rick.
Good evening, Rick. Everybody, welcome to Two Taffs in the Pod. We've got a wonderful guest for everyone tonight, Mr. Rick Page.
It's
Hello,
great to
Rick.
have you with us, Rick. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate the call. This is exciting.
This
No,
is
so
going to be
thank you for
fun.
saying yes. Yeah, thank you for saying yes.
So,
Nick,
Lates, you want to kick off, or shall I just dive in? I got loads of questions, but
I've got loads of questions, but I'll do it this time. I'll try this time. You know what I'm going to do, don't you? So Nick has developed, got this great idea of making our guests feel at ease with one question to start her off. What do you do for fun, Rick?
I've been preparing for this. There are any number of things. First and foremost, I drink coffee. That's fun.
Oh,
Nice.
Secondly, I like to swim. I've become quite a swimmer the last several years. And I get a lot of joy out of that. And I also like going on walks with my wife and our dog. And but honestly, feeding anything that I can do to feed my creative, doing these sorts of things. I'm always watching films and TV shows every single day. I'm watching documentaries. I'm going to seminars. I'm always learning new kinds of software, like DaVinci Resolve, that sort of thing. Like I just love feeding my creative. I love learning about our business. For me, that I don't know, it's a great source of fun. I live and breathe everything film and television.
So, can I just quickly dive in? So, I listened to another podcast you did. I'm sure Leighton did as well. It was a very good podcast. I can't remember the gentleman's name who did it with you. But you mentioned that you started to swim after having some health troubles, right?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I did. I had heart surgery in 2017. I had a mitral valve prolapse. I had a valve that went bad, and it was diagnosed in 2014. And after a few years, it had gone to the point where they said, "Okay, we need to have surgery straight
Wow.
away. You're going to go into congestive heart failure."
oh, wow.
And funny enough, we had just finished at that time during Brooklyn. We were doing 23 episodes a season, so that was a 9-month stretch, and then we'd be off for 3 months. And it was just at the end of a hiatus of being off for 3 months. And I said, no, let's put this off because I've got to get back to work. They said, no, we need to do this now. And I said, no, I'm going to lose this job, thinking that the job was everything. They said, well, you're not going to be around for the job if we don't do this. I said, well, how about Christmas? I kept trying to negotiate my way out of it.
Yeah.
But no, I ended up doing a surgery. It was 100% successful, thank God. And yeah, ever since then, I started swimming quite seriously. I love it. And I think about it every time that I do swim. I just think when I'm starting to fall out of breath or when I'm starting to feel like, I just don't feel like doing this today, I just think I'm thankful, my lucky stars that I can swim, because once upon a time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you lose your
Nice.
job as well?
What's that?
Did you lose your job?
I did lose the job. No, I didn't. No, actually, it was an interesting lesson because, you get into this business and you think that people aren't going to be understanding and you think that you've got to, I mean, to a large degree, you do need to be available and you do need to be in it 110% no matter what's going on. But, there comes a limit. And when it comes to your own life and your family, those aren't things that can be expended. And
Yeah.
and I remember going to the producers saying, I have some bad news. And they said, what's that? I said, well, I need to ask for a few episodes off. I need to do this heart surgery. And they said, oh my God, are you okay? And I said, yeah, it's just, it's not, I downplayed it. It's not going to be a big deal. I only need 3 episodes, maybe 4 episodes off. They said, take as much time as you want. The job will be here when you come back. And
Nice.
they were so
Nice.
supportive of me doing it. And it was a lesson for me in thinking, you know what, there are kind people out there who do understand the value of life and other things that need to take precedent over just, you know, this silly thing that we call, that we have such a love for, but, we're not launching rockets, you know, there can be a time and place for life things to happen.
So, um, I love the fact that you got fit and you got healthy because of that health scare, and obviously everything's pretty good now because you're swimming, long distances. I gather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and walking the dog. What kind of dog do you have?
We have a golden doodle.
Ah, brilliant, very cool. What's the dog's name?
His name is Freddie, and he runs the house. Let me tell you.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
he's
Oh, brilliant.
my
yeah, they're
dog's
the
lying.
best, aren't they?
My dog's lying right over there.
Yeah, they're the best.
So cool. Listen, that's so for fun. We've got walking the dog with the wife, swimming. This is brilliant. And all came out of. Would you say you? Yeah, I guess it's a bit of an epiphany that you needed to get yourself fit and healthy. Um,
It would, it would. It wasn't anything that I had done. It wasn't a type of thing where when people have a heart attack, it's because of high cholesterol. Although I do have a history of that in my family. This was a situation where it was a heart murmur that had gone bad.
mhm.
And when the doctor had noticed it, even then I thought, well, it's just a heart murmur. How can that lead to anything? But sure enough, it was, I guess a lot of people have heart murmurs, and a lot of people can live their whole lives with them and not have an issue, but mine ended up going bad. It was a wake up call because you can be young and dumb and stupid for so long and go, well, I can eat anything. I don't have to worry
Yeah,
about sleep. I don't have to worry about exercise. And then all of a sudden you wake up and now
yeah,
you're under the knife and facing, potential death. And you go, okay, I need to get right. I need to, cut back on the burgers and the fries, and I need to do something that keeps this. And we've only got one engine, so it's like you got to keep it going as long as you can. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
y-
absolutely.
y-
How long was the recovery period for that then? I mean, you said it's like you got 4 episodes
well,
from
I ended
Brooklyn
up taking,
Nine-Nine off. So how long
yeah,
is was
I,
that?
well, I coupled it with a hiatus week, so there was three, so there was 4, 5. So there were 6 weeks in there. And I went back
Okay.
after 6 weeks. I did go back too soon. I went back and I was pushing it. I was cleared by the doctors and by the producers to go back to work. But I think in hindsight, if I could do it, I'm coming up on nine years this year, 9 years next
Oh,
year,
good.
or no, 10
Nice,
years next year, 9 years this year.
amazing.
Uh, Looking back, I should have waited a little bit longer, but no, it wasn't too bad of a recovery. They went through the side instead of a sternum crack. They went through the ribs, which I thought was going to be an easier recovery. I guess it was, but
Wow.
but it wasn't. I thought it was going to be laparoscopic type surgery, and to
Yeah,
my surprise, no, they just find another entry point. They're still ripping you open, and you're on a heart and lung machine for 6.5 hours, which is an interesting, trippy sort of thing to think about that I was really
yeah.
kind of
You're dead. You're
kind of dead
dead.
for, yeah,
It's breathing for you.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I'm quite thankful, quite grateful.
Well, right. You're here. You're here with us.
Yeah,
Let's dive into this incredible career of yours.
you're
Absolutely.
very kind.
I mean, that alone, if I'm honest, Nick, right there, where he's just the desire that Rick wanted to get back to work. So which
Yeah,
means there's obviously clearly a love for his job, which you can
yeah,
see in his IMDb
yeah.
resume. And I think you're right. It's Nick, fire away, because I think, yeah, that just speaks volumes that you've got this
So,
passion for what you're doing.
Thank
so
you.
let's go to the beginning, Rick, if that's okay.
Yeah,
You're from Buffalo, correct?
from Buffalo. Yep, yep. Do you know where that is?
I do. Yeah,
New York?
upstate. I've got relatives in Syracuse.
Oh, you do? No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I grew up in Buffalo, a small little town called Lockport, which is about, well, I don't know what it is now, but back when I was growing up, it was about 27,000 people. It was very
Okay.
tiny. It's about 15 minutes, kind of a suburb, about 15 minutes north of Buffalo, which as a kid, I thought trips to Buffalo, in my mind's eye, they were like an hour or two to get there in the back of the car, but really it's only 15 minutes north of Buffalo. Um, an incredible amount of snow, 10 months of
Yeah.
overcast out of the year.
Wow.
And yeah, that's where I grew up. That was where I caught the bug as a kid. My dad was a hobbyist still photographer, and
Yeah.
he would always shoot stills of my brother and I, out at the park and camping and that sort of thing, always having us point at things. And I started to learn and discover just as a small boy, he'd take pictures of animals and just capturing things, which
Hmm.
was such a magical thing as a kid. You shoot film, you go and you get it developed, you wait for it to come back, it comes back, you
Yeah.
look at it. It's not quite what you thought it was going to be. It's something
Yeah.
different, something special. It's a little bit sepia, it's a little bit warmer, it's got texture to it, you can
Yeah.
feel it. It was great. And I didn't realize that it was sort of getting into my mind, into my psyche that young, but it did because not long after that, um, I started collecting comic books, and my buddies and I
Mhm.
had a love for comic books, and then we would draw and make our own comic books and sell them in school for like a quarter. You draw them, you'd ink them, you'd at the time it was called Xerox. You would Xerox them
Yeah.
and sell them for a quarter, and it was like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And I realized later in life, oh, I was actually doing visual storyboards. I was
So
capturing it early on.
can I quickly jump back to your dad for a second?
Yeah,
So when he was taking pictures, taking snaps of, did you say you and your brother? Is that what
yeah,
you said?
that's right.
So would he then direct the photographs, or would he try and capture you naturally?
Both, and I've got some wonderful ones that were natural,
Hmm.
but yeah, like he would direct, pretend you're pointing, point over there. Well, what are we pointing at? Just pretend that there's some birds
Yeah.
over there, but there's no birds, trying to reason with him.
Yeah.
But he
But
would, he
so
would, he would direct. He would, yeah. I see where you're getting at. Keep going.
no, the reason I'm asking is because then I'm trying to figure out if that's where, as well as being an incredible cinematographer, you're also a director. Um, I'm just wondering if that subtle influence of your dad directing you in still photography, and not just being like a good stills guy on a unit. I wonder if that then influenced you into your own sort of directing.
It did, and I'll go one step further. Growing up in a small little town like I did, there were not a lot of opportunities. And even as a
Uh-huh.
child, I could
Hmm.
recognize that there was, everybody in town worked for the local, there was a General Motors was there. Um, Everybody worked there or worked at convenience stores, right?
Yep.
There weren't any big city dreams, Hollywood was like a gazillion miles away.
Mm.
Yeah.
And and I remember, dating myself, but in 1978 when Superman came out, the Christopher Reeves version, the original
Yep.
OG version,
Hmm.
I
Incredible.
fell in love with it as a small child, asking my dad, like, how are they making him fly? And he was like, well, he's got a red cape. And I was like, no, but how are they making him fly? Well, he gets his powers from the sun. No, Dad, how are they making him fly?
Hmm.
Like, I knew there was a magic trick going on and I wanted to be in on it. I wanted to know, how did they create the magic here? How did they
Easy.
make me believe that this was happening? And so, you know, I being in a small town where there weren't a lot of opportunities, wanting to kind of get away from that. And then also my parents were divorced when I was young. I was 5 when they were divorced. So, I went through a really kind of early recognition of wanting to sort of, I don't know, make stories that bring happiness to people, that make people feel comfortable, that make them feel a reflection of what's going on in their own lives. And so
Yep.
directing, creating, molding
Hmm.
sort of stories that were bigger and better of what I was experiencing as a small child, I think had a tremendous influence on me. I think them getting a divorce
Hmm.
and what my brother and I went through ended up being one of the greatest things that could have ever happened for me because it kind of made me reach for bigger, better things, if
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I've got a
Was
question,
that
you, Nick. Oh, sorry, Nick.
Go on? No, no. I was
And it,
one second. While we're on Superman, was there not a fear, Rick, that if you were to be told how the cinema magic was happening, uh,
That it
I
would
love the
go
fact
away.
that I love the fact that a young boy almost wanted to burst his own magical bubble
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and destroy his own idea that Superman was the Superman. So if someone would have then told you, oh, he's on wires,
Yeah,
it's
he's on Apple
incredible.
boxes and wires. Yeah.
It's incredible that it's incredible to me that a young boy, he knew there was suspect and there was something up, but you weren't afraid to burst that little magical bubble for yourself. And
that's a great question, Nick.
I wasn't. Yeah, it's an excellent question. I wasn't because I wanted to be the one who helped bring the magic. I wanted to be the wizard, who would help bring the magic to other people, and that's happened to me a number of times in my life. When I first started working as a camera assistant, started meeting, celebrities and people that I had grown up watching, legends who were on television and in films. And you start to realize who they are as a person, and they're not exactly holding up often to who you thought they were on screen. That bursts the bubble. The first time I've been out twice. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and I went out to Leavesden to see the sets. And the first time I went out, I thought, oh, am I going to like this? Because it's going to burst the bubble.
Yeah.
But I love it. I can't get enough of it. I cannot get enough of seeing how the magic is made. It for me is everything. And if ever there's an opportunity for me to help bring that and collaborate and participate, that's what I want to do. I want to be one of the people who are helping make it happen and bringing it to audience.
So you're clearly meant to do this because as a small boy, you were prepared to burst that bubble because you wanted to, I guess, essentially recreate, right? You wanted to be able to do the same.
I think so. It's I don't know. To me, so the first time I made a film and showed it to an audience was in high school. And it was a cheesy little, cop film, which was ironic years later. We're doing Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But it was this like little cop film. And my buddies who I ran track with had come to me and they had said, we want to do this project for English and you're the only one that knows how to run a camcorder. Can you film it for us? And I said, yeah, sure, I can film it for you. And I'm reading the manual and I'm figuring out how to operate this camera. And then it came time to editing, and we were like, how are we going to edit this together? And it was like, well, if we hook up two VCRs and we hit record and play on one and play on the other, and then pause and then fast forward and start cobbling it together, magic. We made a little film. And when we showed it in class, I mean, it's so ridiculous, but the feeling that I got, I remember like it was yesterday, getting a reaction out of our fellow classmates and the teacher saying, how did you guys put music in this? And how did you put this together? This is ridiculous. This is incredible. That feeling never goes away from me. I mean, that is such a natural high for me if somebody will take 2 seconds to watch something that I've helped create, then that's everything to me. And then of course, later on you get into, bigger and better things. You make a film, it gets into theaters, you make a TV show and it's shown worldwide. I mean, it's the greatest. It's the greatest feeling in the world.
So I've got a question, Rick, and this is a Rick and Nick question as well. Good rhyme there, Nick. And I think I'm going with this, Nick. But you said where you are, Rick, Buffalo, making movies was 1,000,000 miles away. Hollywood was 1,000,000 miles away.
Yeah. Okay, I know.
Were you the trailblazer for Buffalo in that of doing that, or was it somebody that created a path ahead of you? And that's for you as well, Nick, because where Nick is from, there's an incredible amount of Hollywood history there, and there's a story of a mutual friend that myself and Nick had, where a chap said he wanted to be an actor, and I said no chance. There's no actors from where we're from, but there really was. Is that the same for you as well, Nick? Because I've always wanted to ask you this question, and is that the same for you as well, Rick?
Oh, me. So
for
for
both
me,
of you,
it's
it's both of you question, yeah.
So for me, it's pretty much identical to what Rick already said about Buffalo. I was imagining the middle of Wales. Everyone drank at the. Yeah, exactly the same. No, there was never an actor that came out from my specific village, which was only 10,000 people. Yeah, no, maybe but similar size to where Rick was from. So exactly same sort of thing. So no one was from there. I don't know.
Ray Milland. Ray Milland, first Oscar winner, from Wales, from Neath.
And when Rick said about that first buzz about the classmates and the teacher loving his film that he's just edited, genius, by the way, just coming up with that about because we used to do it with music tapes, right? The same thing. We used to record the charts. and it's the same sort of thing. But to think about doing that with VHS, Rick, it's just absolutely genius. And I remember I made a note of that when I heard you say it on another podcast. I just thought it was incredible. But yeah, for me, it's exactly the same for Rick. I'm not going to dwell too much on me because this is about him. But same sort of thing. When I did a school play, when I took a bow and the school were applauding, I just got this absolute buzz, as an actor.
Yeah.
So when he was describing Buffalo and his classmates and all this stuff,
that's exactly.
I knew exactly how he felt.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because it's quite interesting, and this is pre-internet as well, so it's hard to see who's from where as well. And I think it's and I could just see that link between you both. And I sort of wanted to sort of get Nick's sort of version and yourself. And was there anybody for yourself, Rick, that you have set that path?
I always had some tremendous teachers in starting in junior high in Buffalo, who I looked up to, and then I also delivered newspapers, and I had sort of these parental figures in my friends' parents or in people that I was delivering newspapers to. I had created this own little community of people that I looked up to who were very supportive in whatever it was that I was doing. I was always you mentioned trailblazer. I've never thought of myself as a trailblazer. I guess
for sure,
because I like to bring everybody, I like to have everybody on the trail with me. But yeah, it's not like I have always been one to sort of take my own initiative in a way. Like it's not. Certainly, there are famous people from Buffalo. There have been some actors who have come out of Buffalo or who have been born there, but it's not a mecca of. It's not that well known. I don't think, and I didn't know of that as a kid. That wasn't on my radar at all, and it wasn't like a competition or anything. It was like, what can I do? What is it that I can do to make this world a better place than it was before I got here? How can I contribute to entertainment and storytelling in a meaningful way that matters for me and for my community of people? And so, yeah, I had those people when I moved to Maryland when I was 15. That's when I met those guys in high school, and so I had sort of I had the background of still photography and drawing and art in my mind, and that passion was growing inside. But high school is now where I got to start to exercise it, and I had a friend there. I've always had this affinity for elderly people because it started when I was delivering newspapers, and there was this retirement home that I would deliver them to. But in Maryland, I had this dear friend, Marge, who I met when I was 15. She was 68. She died in COVID, not of COVID, but she was 1 month shy of her 100th birthday. And Marge taught me art and culture and people, and really was sort of the backbone for me in terms of going after filmmaking as a career. Nice. When I was gearing up to go to film school, she was the one who was pushing, saying, it's daunting. I know you don't know how you're going to get into the business. I know you don't know how you're going to become a director. At that point, cinematography wasn't really on my brainwave yet. But she kept pushing and pushing. So I guess the answer to all of it is yeah, I think maybe trailblazing has just sort of been in my nature because I've just wanted it. I've wanted to go after it, and I want everyone I want to bring everybody to the party, and I want everybody to have a good time doing it. Like that to me, when you walk onto a soundstage and you're underneath rafters that Hollywood icons have worked under, to me, it's like you're in a magical, special place. You're where that magic was created. It's always going back to that. It's always going back to that. Hallowed ground is something that's fantastic. So, I don't know. Does that answer the question? I think it does.
Yeah. I mean, where did that? So you're in high school. So what was the next steps after that then? Which was taking you to Hollywood? How? Yeah.
Well, then Sorry, Nick, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say I was just going to answer Leighton's question on your behalf. I don't know why, but then it was Utah, right?
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Let me see what you're going to say, Nick. Go ahead.
No, I was going to. So then it was Utah, right? Which is
then it was Utah.
This mecca of a film school.
Yeah, kind of. Well, it is now. Now
Yeah,
it they've gone leaps and bounds. I was fortunate to go back a couple of years ago. They gave me it's quite an honor, a prestigious award there for my career, and it was like stepping into Back to the Future. I mean, they've got such a tremendous program there now. If they had had that when I was there, oh my God. Um, I went to Utah because it was frankly I had a really good GPA in high school and a really crappy SAT score. I just was not a good test taker and I just didn't have the grades to get into places like UCLA or USC or NYU, nor did I have the money, even if I could get into those
hmm,
places. And so I started at University of Maryland for a semester, and then I dropped out because I got this idea to come out to Utah and go to school there because it was on the way to LA.
hmm,
I got in, and when I visited the school, yeah, it was a really small film program when I was there. They had like two 16 millimeter cameras. They had two
yeah.
flatbed, 16, millimeter flatbed moviolas, and they didn't have a lot of equipment. They didn't have big classes or anything, but there was something about it that spoke to me that said, you know what? I can make good here. I can bring my little film that I made in high school with me and I can do something here. This can be my stepping stone on the way. And so I sunk everything that I had into filmmaking when I was in school there. And I worked at the PBS station, which was on campus for Salt Lake City. And then
Cool.
everything that I would do in school would help apply to working at the station. But then everything that I was learning about camera operating and studio lighting and floor directing up at PBS was then transferring over to film school. So I was getting this massive education at once. It was like drinking out of a fire hose. And when I think back now to college, man, it went by so fast because I was involved in so many different film projects, everyone else's project, my project, whatever I could do to help anybody. That's what I was doing. Um, and yeah, I mean that was clearly the next step on my way to my career. Now my career did start in Salt Lake. It was a booming film community in the 90s. Little did I know that there were a lot of Disney films that were being made there, movies of the week, features, a couple of TV series, commercials. There was a film community happening that I was unaware of, and so I was really fortunate to get an internship on a TV show and
Cool.
I was humping around camera cases in waist deep snow for free for 3.5 months, just so that
Yeah,
I could be there and be standing on a
yeah.
set and getting to meet people. And then it, you know, snowballed from
Because
there.
so I don't know whether it was the same for you, but when I left drama school, and you can learn all as much technicalities as you want, in school in film school, whatever it is, but you learn so fast in a live environment on a film set. When I went on my first film set, I'd learned more than my first two jobs, first two film sets. I learned more than I did in 3 years of drama school.
100%.
Now, was it the same for you when
Yeah.
you first got on that when as a freebie as an intern? Hunking like lenses around and camera boxes on that snow, you probably learned more than you did at the University of Utah.
Oh my God, it was a crash course. It was starting over, essentially. It was starting
Yeah.
over. And it wasn't that I had wasted my time in film school, not by any stretch, learning all that I did helped me learn about myself. It helped me learn
Mm-hmm.
about what I it helped me learn about what I wanted to do with my life and not just with what I wanted to do in film. And so while I had learned as much as I could in school, yeah, it was a whole different environment. I mean, now you're having to learn gear and you're having to learn people. I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
learned anyone's position on the set until I
Yeah.
had got on a set. I hadn't learned, I didn't know what a concept meeting was or a production
Yeah.
meeting or a table read or tone meeting or location scout. None of that's, you don't learn that in school.
Yeah.
You're in school, you're learning about Scorsese and Hitchcock and, Truffaut, and that's all great, and you're making your films. But to be fair, I had already been making my films before I got to film school. It's like that film school had become more of a playground. When I was on the set, it was like, oh wow, now you're dealing with a cornucopia of attitudes and egos and trying to stay out of the way but be helpful, find your place and be
Yeah.
a
Mm-hmm.
contributor. Yeah, it was a massive experience that was
Because then you've got all this whole new dictionary of terminology that you wouldn't have a clue what it was, you know.
That's right.
And like you said, you know, everyone's kind of roles around the camera team, or even beyond the camera team. Just it would have been a real sort of thrown in the deep end, I guess. But that's how we learn, right?
It is how we learn, and one of the things that I try to impart on students who are just graduating school, you know, I do lecture from time to time, mostly over at UCLA, and I try to explain to them like, look, your mind is going to be you're going to be drinking out of a fire hose the first time you get on a set, and you're going to get discouraged. I mean, it can be a harsh. The set isn't always warm and fuzzy. You know
No.
this. I mean, it can.
Mhm.
There are a lot of people out there who do not give a shit. You know, they're not all. They don't care about Superman's red cape. They don't care about the magic. They care about getting a paycheck every week. That's the harsh reality. Not everyone is into this business. A lot of people do it because you can make good money if you can sustain a career at it.
Because it's a business.
It is a business. And so you have to learn very quickly to grow a thick skin. And I did not have one first time I got on the set. It was tough. People not knowing my name, not giving a crap who I was, you know. Nobody cared that I was working for free. You know, I was lucky if somebody said thank you when I was handing them a bottle of water, you know, and that was the harsh reality to it. It was like, oh, okay, you're starting over here and you need to learn how to fit in, and you need to learn that it's a battleground in a sense. Of course, I think it's maybe a little friendlier now. It was pretty harsh back in the 90s. I mean,
Has that
you remember.
shaped, sorry, Rick, is that experience shaped how you are on set and how you treat people? Or are you
Exactly.
just as cold-hearted?
No, you teed up. No, you teed up where I was going with it, and I started to think like, what the hell was my point here? The point is, yes, it has shaped me because you learn from everybody. You learn from the good, the bad, the in between.
Yeah.
You take something from everybody. Every person that I worked for, whether they were a second or a first or an operator or a DP or a director or a producer, every single one of them, if they were a prick, I've learned from that. If they were the best possible human in the world, I've learned from that. I take something from everybody and go, great, this is how I'm going to be. That's how I'm not going to be. I'm going to be a little bit of this, but I'm going to shape it and put my own spin on it. And that's how you sort of, I don't know, that's how I've taken my career. That's how I've sort of tried to mold myself as a cinematographer and as a director, because I'm one that believes that everyone deserves a fair chance, and that everyone has a good idea, and that everyone's earned a spot at the table. You know, there are no ideas are bad ideas. They're just ideas. And so I always try to encourage a positive environment where people feel free to collaborate. And of course, it does have to distill down. There has to be someone who makes a final decision that says, okay, great, I've heard this, this, and this. This is what we're going with, and here's why. And actually, I don't have time to explain to you why. I'll explain it to you later. You know, cultivating a place where people feel that freedom to create their best work and feel good about themselves is the type of person that I try to be all the time. To be fair, you know, on that first job that I had as an intern, the person that I was directly working for called me monitor boy. Wouldn't call me by my name. My only job was, as far as he was concerned, was to set up the monitor for the director. Monitor boy, get the monitor set up. Yep, got it. I'd set it up. Monitor boy, it's already set up. You know, monitor boy, monitor. And I was like, this freaking jerk, you know, my name is Rick. You know, I got a freaking college degree. Nope. I had to learn that this was an ego I was dealing with, and that I was never going to treat anyone like that, you know?
Yeah. That's wonderful. No, I mean, that's not wonderful, but I mean that you've taken all these experiences and created your own, and how you treat people, and how you work and how you operate in that environment. And just going back to you lecturing, what I've noticed with people in the industry, certainly behind the camera, actually in front of the camera as well, is that you're giving back through lecturing at UCLA. And I know there's Kirk Sadusky does it from Plato, and he lectures, I think, at UCLA, funny enough, I think, Eric Dahl. But the fact that they're giving back, how is that for you to give back? Do you prepare them as best as you can that you didn't get back at Utah, or do you sort of follow the similar principles?
There was a opportunity that I had in 1997 or 1998, where my friends and I had already been in the business, I'd been working, and my friends and I had saved up short ends from the show
Mhm.
that production gave to us.
Well,
And
short end,
we
sorry.
short ends. Oh, sorry. Yeah. When you shoot film, back in the day, unless you're Chris Nolan and still shooting it now, you get to the end of a roll and you don't have quite enough to get a full take in, and so maybe there's 80 feet left, and that's not enough to keep the mag. So you chop that off, and that becomes you can it up. That becomes a short end. Well, you get enough short ends together, you can make a film. At least that's how we did it back in the day because we didn't have iPhones and video cameras, and you would cobble together what you could if you wanted to shoot 35 mil or 16 mil. And so we had cobbled enough together to make a film. We had written ourselves a short, me and some of the guys from the crew on the show I was working on. And Ossie Davis was one of the actors on the show. And we were having lunch one day, and he said, "What are you going to be doing this summer?" Because we were getting ready to go on the hiatus. And I said, "Oh, my buddies and I were going to make a film." "Oh, that's the best news I've heard all week." He said, "Let me know if you need any help with that." I didn't know what he meant by that. And we go on the rest of the day, and I thought, what does he mean? I mean, he's this celebrity actor. He's been around forever, Ossie Davis. Like, does he mean he's going to give us money? Like, what? And it dawned on me. I was like, oh my God, he's asking to be in the movie.
Yeah.
So I went up to him and I said, Ossie, I said, when you offered help, are you meaning to say that you would be in this? And he laughed. He said, I thought you were never going to ask. He said, I will 100% give you a day. He goes, all you got to do is fly me out from New York and I'll do whatever you want. Well, we quickly wrote a role for him and you know, going crazy. I mean, this is a guy who's been in Spike Lee's movies and now he's going to be in my short film. Unbelievable.
So you were directing. You
I
were
was
directing.
directing this, yeah. So then right before we rolled, and I actually have a photograph of this. Somebody had captured the moment, funnily enough. But right before we rolled, I said, Ossie, I said, not for nothing, but I mean, I can't ever express enough gratitude. But why are you doing this? Like, I'm just this kid, and we're here in Salt Lake City, and you've had this legendary career, and I gotta ask why? Why are you willing to do this? And he said to me words that I have lived by ever since then. He said, "Young man," he said, "when I was your age, there were those who were helping me come along." He said, "and I was never able to pay them back. And this is how you pay them back." He goes, "By helping the young folks to come along. This is how you pay back those who came before you." And I've never forgotten that. And that's how it feels to lecture and train and inspire people. To me, that's paying people like Ossie Davis back, paying Marge back,
Yeah.
paying all of these people who were there for me, who helped inspire and motivate me and breathe encouragement into my heart
Mhm.
when I didn't necessarily have it. That's how you give back. And it does. It feels that way. I'm happy to do that because I don't know. That's just who I am, I guess. That's just what
And
I like to
have
do.
you been lucky enough to see any of your former students on set with you, and how is that interaction? I'd love to
I
know.
have. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I taught out in Cleveland, and with our buddy Jimmy Matteo, and one of our students out there is now in Hollywood, and she worked on two different shows with me, um, and she's fantastic at what she does. I don't know what she does now, but when I worked with her, she was an office PA. When I taught her, she was on the crew of this film we were doing, and she was learning camera and she was learning all these different things and didn't know anything, and yeah, it's wonderful because it makes you feel like, oh, okay, we got another one out there, another one who wants to know how it's all made, and they're out there contributing their best version of themselves, to do it. It's great. It's a great feeling.
So I've got a question, and I don't know whether it's too early to bring this question out because it's a question that I really want to know the answer to. Now, I want to get into your credits and your incredible like body of work that you've done. We'll get into that,
Yeah.
but this question's just burning a hole in me. Um, so obviously, you're known as a cinematographer, as a DOP. It might sound good because I took my headphone down. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah, you sound great. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I,
I also want to compliment you on your background. It's much better than the one you did with Paul, because the sun was setting and you were silhouette.
I
And I thought,
know,
I thought, oh
yeah.
God, Nick, I got to call you ahead of time and set up your shot. So well done. You look great.
Thank you. Because I was aware of it. It was, but I don't
We're
like.
keeping that in, Nick. We're keeping that in. We're not editing that out at all, mate.
Oh, fuck off. I don't like the blurry background shit that Leighton's done. So I'm glad that you haven't.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm glad that you haven't, Rick. I'm glad that you haven't.
Yeah.
So.
And Leighton, we'll talk about his headroom later on. But go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, there's too much head. So listen, there's a question, right? And I know it's probably too early to bring it in, but fuck it, I'm going to bring it in. So, out of the three disciplines, let's talk this. Let's talk DOP. Let's talk director. Let's talk writer. Right? There's two parts to this question. Which one of those three is your favorite? Now, I'm not talking about paying the bills, and I'm not talking about you can get as much work as you want in probably all three of those disciplines within our field. But which one really captures your heart out of writing, directing photography?
It's tough. I mean, I would say.
No, we're not talking about like bills and all this shit. Right?
Yeah.
What do you feel?
The most is got to be shooting, and because for me that is it's the ultimate of all three. Honestly, it's where I kind of get to do all three, because even though writing, you can sit at home in your underwear at 4 o'clock in the morning and write anything to your heart's content with no budget in mind, which is great, and I love that, and I'm always writing. I'm always working on something. And directing, I love because I love the craft of working closely with actors and getting them to realize the characters that they're bringing to life and helping them dig deep and find what is resonating deep within inside them that neither one of us knew and could prep and talk about ahead of time, but finding that moment on the set and then being able to bring it home in the edit is really wonderful. But there's something about shooting, there's something about lighting, and this goes all the way back to Buffalo and being a kid and the divorce and all that stuff. There's something about finding the relationship on a set with camera, with how it's photographing, what's being seen, whether it's an actor sitting there quietly, you know, in a thought, pensive, looking out a window, and it's beautiful, soft, golden hour light that we've created and to help support that. And it's a slow push in, or it's something completely off the rails where it's like you're handheld on a rickshaw and the lights are pulsating from above and you're whooshing in on somebody and you're capturing the intensity. There's something about that relationship of getting what the director is going for, what the writer is going for, what the actor is going for, and then ultimately what the producer is hoping to get in the can. As the DOP, being the one to help bring all that collaboration together and capture it, that to me is like, I don't know, maybe that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate.
So I was actually hoping you would say that, DOP.
Oh, good.
I think for me, in my head, it still harks back to stills that your dad was taking when you were a kid. I guess because you can tell a story from a still, right?
Well, you can, and it's all about knowing your audience and knowing what you're trying to craft with the other storytellers around you. Particularly as a television director of photography, you're really in the high pressure cooker type situation, and you're banging these things out week after week, and time is of the essence. Knowing how to pivot is of the essence. Understanding and utilizing your resources is of the essence. But you can't let it get away from you. You can't sit there and create artistry in every single frame that you produce. And when I say that, I mean like you're not Ansel Adams out there trying to make the perfect composition, the perfect lighting. You're certainly going for that, but you got to understand what your audience is. Is this a documentary and the show is meant to look like a documentary, like the one that I'm shooting now? Is it a horror film and it needs to be really high contrast and super dark and edgy and gritty and raw? Is it something that's warm and comfortable, like a Sunday morning with a cup of coffee? I mean, there's all these different ways to approach it, and so it's like the trick is not making it flashy and drawing attention to itself. It's about doing what is natural is so overused with all of us cinematographers, but it really is about supporting the story in the most naturalistic type of way, in the way that my dad was doing those photos. The most unnatural thing he was doing was say pointed
Well,
something that isn't there, but it was all about being natural.
I'm gonna use your own quote here then, just to
Yeah, was it something that just contradicted what I just said? Oh
no,
boy.
no, 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 not
Okay,
at all.
good.
Because there's something you said previously, and it really struck a chord, and it was good is good enough.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. The quote that keeps coming back to me. God, years ago, did I talk about the origin of that?
Yeah,
You did,
you
but,
got it now. Yeah.
Leighton doesn't know about it, so let's go because it's
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I want to know about it
Years,
now. Yeah, but I
years
have.
and years, well, years and years ago, I was doing these videos for my wife's company, shooting airplanes, marketing videos, and I'd be up all night long because that's what you do as a filmmaker. You're up all night long. You're there when the inspiration hits, whether you're writing or you're editing or you're composing. The time of day is irrelevant. So I'd be up all night long cutting these things together and just frame fucking the hell out of it, making sure it was just right, that it was hitting on the
Mhm.
beat, that it was the right flash of flare coming off of the wing of the plane or whatever the thing was. And she'd come out in the morning, getting ready to go to work, and she'd, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just fighting this thing." I'm looking at it. She's like, "No, good is good enough. You gotta let it go." And I remember initially fighting her on that, saying, "No, you don't understand. You don't get it. It has to be perfect." Well, perfect is impossible. And eventually, I think every artist comes to realize that. Oh, well done, Leighton. You've taken the blur off. Um, uh, 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 every artist, I think, eventually comes to that harsh realization that perfect is an impossibility.
yes.
And so then what we shoot for is the moon. And when we go, that's as high as I can go, that
Mhm.
is the best that I can absolutely make it. That is good enough. And it has to be good is good enough. You have
Yeah.
to walk away because nothing is ever going to be there. And if you're chasing that, if you're chasing perfection and realizing your limitations and can stop there, then for me, then that's good enough.
But fuck me, my perfect is subjective anyway, right? Because
Absolutely. Whose definition of perfect? And you're absolutely right. It's subjective. So, a DP mentor of mine would talk about coming up with a painting, and he'd say, all right, paint me the perfect painting.
is this
Okay,
Griner?
well,
Is this Griner?
no, no, this is a DP by the name of Giovanni Limpasi. And he said a lesson that I've never forgotten, which is come up with a painting, um, paint it for me. Okay, well, there's a barn here, and put some silos, and how about a rock wall? Put some sheep. Maybe there's a fence, a lake in the background would be nice. Some birds, some clouds. Great. You don't have the money for half of that. Now cut half of it out. Ugh, it's such a beautiful painting. All right, forget the sheep. Leave those trees. We'll lose the silos, but we'll keep the barn. Okay, the lake, we'll make it half the size. Clouds are nice, but maybe we don't need the fence. And then you show someone that painting and they go, "Oh my God, this is the most beautiful painting I've ever seen in my life." And you go, "That's amazing," because in my mind and in my heart, what I originally had was the most beautiful. But what I've just shown you, now that's how you're reacting to it. Good is good enough. I mean, and that was such an invaluable lesson for me. Um, I remember I met Glenn Keane, who is an illustrator for Disney. He illustrated The Beast in Beauty and the Beast, and then
Oh yeah,
also
yeah.
Ariel and Little Mermaid. Back in the 90s when the Disney animations they were on quite a run back then with all of these films. And I met him and I said, "Oh man, you must be thrilled to take your kids to see the movies." And he said, it breaks my heart. I can't do it. I said, I can't understand that. Why? He goes, because I see every single mistake. I see every little line that could have been better or this could have been different. And it was painstaking to get it into the shape that it's in. And I remember thinking, well, that's such a shame how tortured that is that you can't sit in a theater and be proud of that. Now, I understand what he means. I sit and watch my work on television and I go, well, that's not how it looked when I got out of color timing. That's not quite what I was hoping for. And then in the edit, they could have gone longer on that crane shot, and this could have been better, and that could have been better. But you realize, no, it works. And that's what
that's
we're
the same.
serving. We are serving what works.
Yes, but that's the same across all mediums. That's the same for writers. When writers trim the fat off a script, when when a producer comes to say, "Look, we can't afford that crane," or but it all harks back to basically less is more, right?
Less is more, and that's
the same. And it's the same for actors. When actors act, don't fucking act. Just do less.
Right. You don't necessarily need the words. Let's do the scene without the words now. I saw that happen with a director once. We were on a show, and it was a short little scene. We were on a process trailer, and she was bumping with the dialogue of the scene. And she said, okay, she turned to me and she said, watch this. She goes, all right, let's just do it one more time. Neither one of you say the words. Just act it out with looks and glances. No dialogue. Okay, action. Fuck, if the scene wasn't great. I think that's what aired. I think the showrunner loved it, and that's when it ended up airing. It was so good. And it's not that the writing was bad, it's just not what was required in that moment. Less was more. And that kind of goes back to like what you were saying earlier, Nick, was like, which vocation do I like the best? I love being the one to help find those alternative solutions. If a director says to me, I want to do a big Steadicam shot, and I have to be the one to say, but we don't use Steadicam on our show. Is there another way that we can help achieve what you're going for, but that's authentic and means something to you, but fits within the look and style of the show? And helping them collaborate and come up with that creative solution. I love doing that. That to me is really fun. Sometimes it's super challenging where it's beyond, what our capabilities might be. And then you just have to go, all right, we have to scrap this whole idea and go with something else. But 9 times out of 10, if you can find another authentic solution to it, it's just like taking a note for an edit, for a script, for writing a musical composition. It's like find another way to make it resonate. And oftentimes, if you stop pushing back on what it was that was preventing you, you're gonna trip into something even better.
Oh, can I? Sorry, no, you go. I've written it down because this this has just come to me, and I really want to get Rick's take on it. So you go.
No worries. Yeah. I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier, and something that you said as well: less is more. When you're building a scene and somebody wants to put a jacket in there, but it distracts you, it can distract the audience, and it does. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I suppose I want your opinion on this more than anything. Is when movies put Easter eggs in, particularly the comic book ones, do you find that distracts the audience? It takes them away from listening or watching the story because they're so focused on the Easter egg that they're forgetting about what is happening in front of them.
Yes.
And are you for that or against that?
Well, I'm for it if it's not distracting. I mean, I think it's fun to put little Easter eggs and things. I've got a little statue, it's a little head, a little bust of an African statue that was used in that film in high school that I did with my track buddies. Now, I don't put it in everything that I shoot, but everything that I direct, it makes a little appearance. It's like my little good luck charm. It's an Easter egg, but it's deep in the background, buried by things. Like if it was on the back of your shelf latent, we probably would be in a corner of the frame. We probably wouldn't even see it, but it's there. And that to me has meaning. I think that when people use Easter eggs or put things in there, if it's distracting, now you're going after the wrong thing. And I do the same thing with my lighting too. It's like, why, if you're putting in an effect light on something in the background, okay, does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense, or if it's distracting me away from the actor or the scene, I mean, this happens in color timing a lot. You get into color timing, you go, oh shit, that got away from me. You know what? Let's window that down because it's taking my eye off of this. This is what I need to see. I need to see the joke. I need to see their face. I don't need to see that practical in the background. If this were glowing right now, this would be way too hot. You'd be noticing this, not listening and paying attention to me. I mean, yeah, it's tough. People get carried away with that sort of thing. I don't know.
Briefly then, can we turn on that light just to see?
No, because there's no bulbs in there.
Ah, fuck. Because
It's not. I'm not at home.
when you said this would pull focus, I instantly wanted to see if it would pull my focus away.
It would.
Because I don't think for me, I don't think it would have, because I like a practical in a scene.
Well, I do too. I do too. And in fact, you'll see in just about everything I shoot, practicals are on during the daytime because I like, again, it goes back to creating a warm and comforting environment. And so if it works for the story, then practicals are usually my go-to. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes though, it can be distracting, and so you have to turn them off. But I do like them.
So can I just go? I just want to go back a couple of steps, because for me, as an actor, right, in my career, this is really gross generalization, but I feel there are two types of directors. Okay, so bear with me. There are directors that once were or still are director of photographies.
Mm-hmm.
And they're directors that once were or still are actors. Now, from an actor perspective, we obviously prefer to work with the director who was an actor or still does a bit of acting, because we have a personal relationship with the director and he cares about the story and the truth in the story.
There's also a shorthand that's in here. Yeah.
So he will then let his DOP, like you, worry about how fucking great it looks.
Yeah.
That's not his bag. His bag is the connection between the actor and the scene and the truth in the scene. Then there's the other type of directors that don't really understand the craft of acting and don't really understand actors, but they're fucking incredible operators, DOPs. You know, maybe they've dabbled in lighting. We sort of feel a little bit discarded. But the scene will look fucking incredible. Like, it'd be the greatest kind of scene. The light, everything's just, wow, look at this. The cinematography will be off the hook, right? Do you have a preference in the type of director of those two?
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, look, the trick is, as a DOP, you have to be adaptive. You've got all different types of personalities, backgrounds, experiences, levels of success, inexperience. You've got everything coming at you all the time. And so your job is to give 110% no matter what, and lead the team across the finish line. So you can't allow yourself to get bogged down in the inequities or the inefficiencies of what a director may not bring to the table. On the other hand, sometimes when they bring too much, it can backfire because now you're just a hired gun, and you're just, okay, I'll set the camera. Oh, you want it at 87 inches, not 86 inches off the ground. Okay, great. You're being micromanaged to the point where you're like, well, what am I doing here? I have so much more to offer. If you would allow me to collaborate with you, you're potentially preventing something from happening here. Not that my stuff is great, but something great might happen here on set, and you're trying to control everything. So my preference, I think, is just the type of director who is collaborative, to the point where they are confident in what they know, and they know when to get out of their own way, and are comfortable with knowing what they don't know.
Yeah.
And quite simply put, I mean, I've worked with loads of actors who have turned directors, and I love working with them for the very reasons that you state, Nick, because they're interested in what I do. They're interested in how we're going to craft this. They trust that it's going to look good in the end, and that's then becomes my not a burden, but my challenge of, okay, well, I need to deliver this so that it does look good for them. But they want to understand, and they want to know, oh, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by cut point? What do you mean by transition? Wait, so if we go from this, will it not work if that? And they're interested in engaging in dialogue rather than just saying, no, 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 I know how it's going to be. And it's like, but I'm trying to warn you that we should get an option here because this puzzle piece may not fit with this piece. And maybe you're trying to, use a screw here when it needs to be a nail, and that kind of thing, where you go, Okay. So how are we going to get it? How are we going to get across the finish line here? The ones that then are completely hands off, that's not great either because I appreciate that they trust me to do it all. But if they're so involved with the actors in the story and not at all with the filmmaking, then it's almost like, well, you prepped this though. I don't want to sabotage and take over your story here. I want to help you make your story so that we can have ownership in it, but it's your vision. That's what I'm been hired to do is get your vision on the screen here. And if you're leaving it all up to me, yeah, I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it because I can't I can't know what you have in your mind 100%. I can't. I will try and do as much as I can, but ultimately there has to be a sensible collaboration and there has to be a sense of trust, so that you and so that myself and the director can create a bit of a shorthand. And then when you do, get onto the set and you're sort of going after, this is where I thought we were going to go, and oh shit, we got to go to plan B or plan C because what I thought, what you thought isn't quite working out, but let's try and get to plan B or C together. And then you sit there and go, fuck, that was even better than what either one of us thought in the first place. That's great when that happens. I love that kind of synergy. I don't know. Not all people fit together, but I love it when it does work. It's quite wonderful. So I
Rick,
don't know.
how
Maybe
so?
that's the chicken shit way of answering the question, Nick. But
No, I think it's a great. That was a fascinating answer. I'll be honest. This
I'll
is
let you.
more.
I'll let you off. I'll let you off.
Speaking of a DOP/director, I've got a great one. I'll have to do that offline because an actor told me a story about them,
Okay.
filming a cigarette,
Ah,
um, rather than the actual lines. But
ah.
that's for off air. But how, as a DOP, how early do you get involved in the production? Say pre-production. Where do you come in?
Well, I
Where do you start, and
on a
how do you
TV,
look at a script and visualize
yeah,
the
it's different for
story?
the it all depends on the project.
Mhm.
Um, on TV series, you start the show. I usually come in about a month and change before we start shooting the first episode because you're gearing up for the season and you're going on location scouts and you're overseeing how sets are being built and where the grids are going and you're having to weigh in on decisions about equipment and kind of get a lay of the land about what all the other department heads are doing and what the showrunners are gearing up for. So you're sort of on hand, and then you gear up really the last like 3 weeks before shoot. Now you're really sort of in the trenches, and now you're starting to prep with the director. Then as the season gets going, if you're on a show and you're the only DOP on the project, which quite often I am on these half-hour comedies, then you only get to prep when there's a hiatus week, which is usually every 3 episodes or so. Otherwise, you're having to prep on the fly while you're shooting. So I'm shooting an episode, and then information is coming in to me from those who are scouting and what's going on with the scripts for next week's episode. And the director and I will meet during lunch, phone calls after work. You're sort of always working ahead of schedule while you're concentrating on the
Mhm.
job at hand. Um, I I love the prep process. When it's an independent film, I love to get in as soon as possible because I want to be as much help as possible to the director. And a director may have huge hopes and dreams, particularly on an indie scale. And so the earlier that I'm involved, the longer, the more time we have to solve the problems and say, okay, we don't have a 50-foot techno, but we can get a mini scope. And if we attack the first part of the scene with this perspective, as opposed to being on the crane the whole time, and then pick it up over here on the mini scope, you can start to craft those sort of problems and challenges early on so that you're coming to an understanding so that
I
you
think
don't.
the technical term is removing the sheep.
Yeah, exactly. You're removing the sheep. That's right. There you go. Um, that's it. You're figuring all that out. So I love to get involved as soon as possible. And then when it's like I did this movie last summer into fall, and I was on the project. I think they brought me in, I think about 6 weeks before we started shooting, which was great because the more time you have to go through creative ideas and blocking and staging. And it for me, it's about getting inside the creatives' minds, that being the director and the writer or writers and the producers. The more information that I have available, the better informed I am to make decisions when it comes to the technical end of things, where you're
Mm-hmm.
having to now get the key grip and the gaffer and the key first assistant and the operators and getting everybody up to snuff, your whole team fortified with the right equipment and with the right mindset, because it's all about getting it's all about getting the right attitudes and assembling the right team of people who are going to help you get across that finish line. And the more information you have because of prep, the better off you are. I mean, it's said time and time again on every documentary out there and every behind the scenes, but it is absolutely true. The more prep you have, even if it's not paid prep, the better off you're going to be.
So
'Cause
then
you,
I'm assuming then, do you prefer it when a director shoots off storyboard or not?
well, storyboards are tricky. If it's a sequence that involves a lot of different cuts and it's a lot of different specific ideas that need to be conveyed in the edit, then yes, I think storyboards are very helpful. Um, I don't often love storyboards that come in without the director's input, because then it's a storyboard's interpretation of how the scene gets shot. And that might be different from what the director was thinking. And then that might differ from what the director and I were prepping. And now it comes time for me to set a lens or set a shot. And it's like, well, I don't look anything like the storyboard. It's like, yeah, but the storyboard was, overseas in a dark little office and didn't have any of this forethought that went into it.
So then your creativity is then put on a leash, right?
Yeah, which is fine if that's what the job calls for, then that's what it calls for. But ideally, you want the sort of creative freedom to be able to work the story with the director and be able to reach the potential at every single level of what they're going for. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, everything is captured in the frame. All the prep that went into the script, into the location, into the set dressing, into the props, into the wardrobe, into the hair, into the makeup, into the finest detail, it all ends up getting captured on what it is that we as DOPs are photographing. And ultimately, you turn to the director and you're hoping to find happiness and satisfaction. And if you're not, it's a problem that you need to help then solve. So, yeah, I don't mind shooting off the cusp. I mean, look, in television, it's trained me to do that. I mean, one of the things that I feel very fortunate about the way that I came up on Brooklyn and got my break there was learning how to cross shoot, learning how to light, for three directions
Yeah,
and
yeah.
use your resources and be able to get things done. There are, I mean, countless of instances where a director has turned to me and said, "This isn't at all like how I thought it was going to pan out. The actors aren't doing at all what I thought for the blocking. The set is different. Shit, what do we do?" And so you have to quickly come up with an idea for blocking and staging in a way that's going to be authentic, make it work within a setup or two, be able to be covered by two or three cameras in two or three directions. And you have to do this in within 20 minutes because you've got to get shooting, you've got a schedule to keep, you've got to make the day, you've got to be able to come back tomorrow. And I love that pressure in television. It's something that it's quite great that when I do have the time, I found that when I'm on projects and I do have more time, I'm like, can we just get going? Like, I don't need all this time. This is too much. I don't know what to do with all myself.
I know that Leighton's probably dying to talk about Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh no, I'm not, Nick, not at all.
Yeah, bring
he's he's been going on and on and on about it.
it.
It's an incredible
He's
show.
lying.
But I mean, so I think we should touch on Brooklyn. I mean, I really want to get into the nitty gritty of all the short films that you've done and won awards.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. I'm the same. I'm the same, Nick.
Because
Awesome.
I'm sure everyone talks about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So, let's acknowledge it for a minute. It's incredible. I love
Thank
the
you.
story. I love the fairy tale of it, that it got dropped and then picked up. It's so cool. It's great. So congratulations, and
Thank
genuinely,
you.
like really, and I know I can tell you're so proud of that show, and so you should be.
Very much so.
But I'm fascinated
why someone as established as yourself still does lots of short films.
Yeah.
What is it about what is it, Rick, about? Are you still finding nuggets, are you still testing yourself? Are you still pushing yourself as an innovator? What is it about short films that keep attracting you?
I'm constantly doing all those things because you can never stop learning. You can never stop figuring out what makes that red cape fly. There's always something new. There's always something that I'm surprising myself with, that I'm learning from somebody else. It's whether it's a new piece of technology, like I love finding the moments that are the most simplistic, and you go, holy shit, I can't wait to use that the next time I'm on a soundstage. And then there are times when I've done that where I brought sort of the indie thing to the soundstage, and they're like, wow, this is so are you sure you want to do it? Like, we got a truck full of gear. I'm like, I don't need that. This is what we need. We're ready. Let's go. This looks great. So I bring, it's like back in the days of film school with PBS, going into film school and film school into PBS. It's the same thing, going from the big studio network shows to indie films, short films, and then vice versa. It's all applicable, and it's all teaching me something, and I'm always learning something. And I think too, like you get to be creative in studio network shows, but to a point, because it's a massive machine. I mean, there's upwards of 200 people on our crew, and there's a whole conglomerate of studio and network people beyond that who are making the decisions and writing the checks. And so you get to be creative, but to a point, because you're feeding the machine. Short films, you get a chance to flex those muscles a little bit more and be creative because it's less people, and you're not having to answer to a big network. This thing's going to go into festivals, and you're hoping to surprise people and go, wow, you guys made this for $10. It looks like $1 million. How did you do this? I love doing that. I love that.
So are you then, when you do your short films, or even probably, if you're on bigger stuff, are you operating as are you a camera operator, or are you just DOPing?
Yeah, because of the union on the studio network shows, I'm not allowed to operate unless you get special permission. It's a mandate. I had to do it during COVID when I was shooting Blockbuster because I was losing crew left and right, and so then I was operating and shooting. But on the indie projects, I'm operating as well. There are times when it can be a detriment because your operating skills can fall short because your eyes are focused on the lighting and what's happening, with everything going on there, or vice versa. You're operating and you're just focused on that and everything that is required and needed to execute the shot, and now your eyes have fallen off the lighting. But if you've got a really good gaffer backing you up with their eyes on the shot, then it can be much more conducive. And I do love operating. I operated 60% of the movie that I did last year, and I had such a great time doing it. There's something about being connected that I loved when I was just an operator. I loved it because there's something about being connected with the actor, in the performance, um, and that relationship. You're the first one, you're the first audience, and there's something about having that lens and that relationship that's very special and unique, that is a little bit more removed when I'm just a DOP sitting behind a bank of monitors.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's good fun.
I've got a question. I've got a question for this then, Rick. Is one of your shorts, which I watched just before we jumped on, called Apple Box, which you wrote, directed,
yeah,
produced, but you didn't do the cinematography. So
right.
The question is, how much involved do you get in that, being a DOP, or do you tell them your vision, or do you let them off the leash?
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier about when you're having a director shut you down at every move. Like it's a role reversal. I have to put on a different hat, and I've done that quite a few times. It wasn't just with Apple Box. It was on the 3 different films that I did, the shorts that I did out in Cleveland. You have to trust that. Okay, yeah, I'm a cinematographer, but so are you, and you are going to teach me things that I don't normally do, and you're going to have a different set of eyes and a different approach. And if it goes terribly off the rails, then I'll step in and say it's not quite what I was thinking. This is really kind of what I was going for. If I were doing it, this is what I would do. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying this is how I would approach it. So give me your version of that. That's what you want. You want them to give you their version of what you're going for. And so yeah, it can be tricky, but I try to stay out of their wheelhouse and let them do what they're going to do. The guy who shot Applebox for us was incredible. And when I was a focus puller, I had assisted him on a number of films. So he and I already had a really good shorthand and a good relationship. It's just that now, instead of him being an operator and me being his focus puller, I was the director and he was the DP. So not that I was his boss. I mean, I like to think of us as collaborators, but it was a bit of a reversal that way. But I already knew that he was great. So I really kind of let it go because I needed to focus on the directing and I needed to focus on getting the story told and understanding. And since I was cutting it as well, and since I was the co-writer of it, you know, yeah, it was. I had my plate was full with all of that, so I let that go. On the other projects, yeah, I mean, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. You sit there. I mean, to be fair, I do the same thing with operators when I'm just DOPing and I'm watching my operator shots. I'm going, I would have inched it over a little bit, or I would have this, I would have done that. I mean, you can't help it. That's what you know, you know. But you have to look, this business is made of collaboration. It is not made of single players, you know. It's it's not tennis, you know.
Speaking of collaboration then, and going back to Applebox, because I just thought it was brilliant, by the way. It was very funny, and Jimmy dressed up as a woman. I'm tempted to get a screenshot of that and ask him to sign it, because I thought it was brilliant. Nick, I highly recommend it.
Did he sign that?
No, I'm going to get him to sign one. I am going to get him to sign that. It's brilliant, honestly, Nick.
But you could get Rick to sign it as well, though.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah. But what's the inspiration behind that story then, and the feel of it all?
This is such a great story. Have you guys not heard this? This is so great. No. So Jimmy and I were on a movie in Milwaukee with that DP who shot Applebox. He was operating. We were doing an independent feature in Milwaukee, and it was a fun little film. It was a period piece, and Jimmy played this Italian immigrant. I don't know if he was Sacco or Vanzetti, but he was one of a two-hander of those two characters. And where we were staying was in the sticks outside of Milwaukee, all the crew, and we were at this little shitty hotel bar. And he was on the end one night, and I was on the other end, and he was holding court and doing his typical shtick, and everyone was just laughing. I'm like, who is down there? You know, all these jokes. And the next day on the camera truck, the guys were like, "Oh my God, that guy Matteo, he's so funny." And I go, "How do I know that guy?" They go, "Oh, he was in Band of Brothers." And I was like, "Oh shit, that's right." And the next night, nobody was at the bar except me and Jimmy. And so we were having a few beers and just getting to know one another. And you know, he goes, "I'll be right back. I gotta go take a leak." And he hops off the stool. And I go, "You need you need a full apple," which is what we call a regular sized apple box. In the business, we call a full apple because they come in full size, half size, quarter size, and pancakes. So I said, "You need a full apple?" He goes, "Yeah, story of my life." He comes back from the bathroom. He goes, "You know what?" And I said, "We should do a short film about that." And it was like the light bulb went off for both of us at the same time about this actor who only gets recognized when he's standing on his apple box. And we could not wait to get back to LA. The second we got back to LA, we found out we were living around a corner from one another. So we'd get together for coffee. We banged out the script in no time. And before we knew it, we were off and running. But that was the genesis of it was just him and I,
brilliant.
You know, fucking around over a few beers. And
well, that's how it happens, right? That's how things come to fruition.
We had so much fun on that film, and he produced his ass off on that. Jimmy raised all the money for it and got all the other Band of Brothers guys to come in on board and give cameos, and we shot like in LA for a whole week. We got permits. There were things that we stole. We shot things like the Paramount stuff. We did guerrilla style, all the stuff with. It was supposed to be Rick and Frank just as Batman and Robin outside of the Chinese theater. We couldn't get them. They weren't available. So it was me and another guy dressed up as Batman and Robin. We did that guerrilla style. We almost got arrested and thrown off. I mean, we had so much fun making that movie. Oh God, it was the best.
It's incredible, honestly, Nick. If you haven't watched it, it's on his, your website is a
Yeah,
goldmine
it
for
was
your
a good
short
time.
movies. So it's on there. I highly recommend it. I laughed my head off just
Everyone
from
was so
minute one. It's go. It's
well,
brilliant.
and that was a special project too because it was the beginning of my friendship with with all those guys. A lot of great people came together and were so generous with their time. I mean, we paid the crew and everything, but the actors gave their time, and Ron and Scotty Grimes with his music, and Richie was there. I mean, all those guys, Frank and Rick. I mean, they were all just the best. They were so generous, and we all became friends starting there. It was just
So
it was the beginning of something great.
you have a company with Rick, right? With Rick Gomez.
No, I'm not in his company. I've shot for his company though.
Oh,
We collaborated on several projects and worked together on putting those out in the beginning. Um, they're all under the banner of his company.
I mean, they're all such talented boys.
They really are. I mean, Mike too. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
shot for Mike. I've shot for all. So Nick, I should shoot for you in your short film because
Well,
we should keep the tradition going because
I was going to come to that later, actually.
because I've shot for Mike, I've shot for Frank, I've shot for Rick, I've shot with Jimmy. Yeah, I mean, this is
No,
keep it
listen,
going.
don't think that hasn't crossed my fucking mind because it really has.
No, you're dead right. They're all so insanely talented, and I've learned something from each and every one of them, and I have nothing but love for all of them. They are my brothers for life. They really
Me
are.
too. Yeah, I feel
They're all
exactly the same.
amazing people who I'm.
Do you have the same brotherhood with your own crew that, say, Jimmy has with the guys
With
from
those
band?
dudes?
Do you have
Yeah.
that with your own crew on movies with your
You do.
crew's called a crew?
The hard part is, to be perfectly honest, is you can't always work with them because people are either working, they're unavailable, they're working on other projects, or you can't bring them along. I've got a whole crew in Vancouver who I absolutely love. The guys who I worked with, the people on Blockbuster who made up grip, electric, and camera were some of the most amazing humans that I've ever worked with. I would I would I would do anything for any one of them. And if I could ever work with any of or all of them again, I would in a heartbeat. I was gutted when that show didn't get picked up because I had such a good experience with them. The people on Brooklyn, amazing, amazing people, and I've worked with them, quite a few of them since then. But you never get everybody back together. It's never the same band because everybody goes and they do different things. All of my shows, I've had unique crews on, and yeah, you do. You are sort of bonded for life. I mean, it was like Paul was saying in his podcast. I mean, you're friends with them, and then sort of 2 weeks after the shoot, you moved on. I mean, I always try to get in touch with everybody around the holidays. There's always Christmas cards and times to try to catch up, or you run into somebody and you send photos like, "Hey, look who I'm with. I ran in. We're thinking about you." Yeah, it's one of the curses of the business, I guess, in a way. Is
Have you been able to pull any of them across to your latest work, The Paper, which is excellent, by the way?
Thank you so much. I'm fortunate that one of the operators I've known for years, Phil Mistrella, he was with me. We operated together on Brooklyn, and then he was operating for me when I moved up to become the DOP on that. And then I hired Phil on College Girls. He did the pilot with me, not the series. And then he did Grand Crew with me, and now he's on The Paper as well. But I've got a whole new team on that who are amazing. And now we've done a season together, and now they're all part of my work, brother, sisterhood, whatever, however you want to call it. They're amazing people, and I'm really grateful. And then when you have extra cameras, that's when you've got your list of people. You try to, hey, are you available? I'd love to see you. Come on in. Always great.
How do you feel about shadowing then, Rick? If you got like a student, would you like let a student shadow you as and watch how how someone's established as yourself works?
I've done that last year in Utah when I shot this film. I had a student come and shadow me for a day. Because I want them to have the experience that I didn't really get. When I was in school, I was really fortunate that we had a TV director who would come up and teach part-time. Every once in a while, we'd get a guest lecturer, and he'd come up, and then he invited us to come down to a taping. That's the first time where I met Ossie Davis, the actor who I talked about earlier. And so while I got to see the set and meet the DP, it was sort of really from an audience point of view. It wasn't in the nitty-gritty of it. And so one of the ways that I like to give back is to say, yeah, why don't you come shadow? Get on the set, ask questions. I can't always answer them in the moment because I'm flying at 500 miles an hour. But if I can get your eyeballs and get you to experience and see what's happening on the set, and then we can have a meaningful conversation about it over coffee after, great. Then I hope you can take that with you and learn and apply. And yeah, I always, whenever I can afford to do that, if the set will allow it, I'm always open to that.
Good on you.
Brilliant.
Why not? You know, that's the best way to learn, is to be there.
So have you ever shot in Europe?
I have.
Any particular favorite places to shoot in Europe?
Well, I'm gearing up to do something in Ireland. I've not shot in Wales yet, but I've been fortunate to work in England, Japan, China, Germany, France. I think that's it. Tahiti and Canada. I've been so lucky. This career has afforded me so many amazing opportunities. And working with crew from all different reaches of life is just the best. It was particularly great in China because, well, Japan as well, because no one that when I was over there on those, I did two different features, and very little to no one spoke English. It was great. It was great, you know, because you couldn't always rely on the translator because the translator was everywhere trying to help everybody. So to just learn how to communicate with the bond of humanity and a mutual understanding of what we were all trying to do was just great. It's fantastic.
Lots of hand gestures.
Lots of hand gestures, yeah.
More
But
lights, more lights.
of course, now you can use Google Translate, I suppose, you know. And
yes, we did a battlefield tour to Sicily back in November, which is stunning. And the driver could not speak English, and our tour guide did exactly that. It was phenomenal to see. It was brilliant.
Yeah. But yeah,
but
no,
with
I
that,
love I love working in Europe.
Where's been the favorite?
Sorry, no, you go.
Where has been the standout place you have filmed, and why?
Oh gosh, a standout place. Well, Vancouver was especially wonderful just because, as I said, the crew. It was the conglomeration of what. So Vanessa Ramos was the showrunner, and she assembled a core team of producers who who got just the right people involved, and they embraced me into their fold. And then when we got up there, I don't know, I got the right crew, and it was just, and the cast was just incredible. And of course, Melissa I knew from Brooklyn, and so she directed on Grand Cru, so she and I already had a shorthand and a bond. But you know, it was just one of those situations where it was just wonderful. And I don't know, I just found the Canadians to be awfully welcoming of me, and it was just so fun. I just enjoyed being there. I also really enjoyed Japan. Japan was wonderful. You know, everyone was just so nice, and you know, I don't know. I think Ireland is super near and dear to my heart. You know, the people in Belfast and in Dublin, whom I've met and worked with, are just wonderful people. And I'm looking forward to getting to do more work, you know, with them, as much as I can. Yeah, I don't know. I just like working with people. I don't know.
So there's a question. There's a question we asked Paul, and we asked him about his three favorite films. So let's hit you with that, Rick.
Okay. So that one I did not prepare for, like the coffee and swimming. Well, my go-to number one always is North by Northwest. And the reason is I find that film so incredibly wonderful for when it was made in 1957 with the technology that they had to make sort of this road trip cross-country adventure with massive Mitchell cameras and moving dolly shots. Some of the walking talks, you can tell they're just walking in place with the moving projection in the background, which I love. But also there are some shots where they're moving on massive doorway dollies. I love that film and the special effects for what they are. That to me, I can watch that film over and over and over again, and it holds up for me. I think it's just wonderful. I also, in the Hitchcock vein, love Rear Window, because I feel like that's such a tremendous character study. And you know, it's just a great film to reference. And God, first season of Grand Crew, our stage was stage 18 at Paramount, and it was the stage where they shot Rear Window. So I was going crazy being there, talking about rafters. Holy cow. Um, so North by Northwest is among one of my absolute most favorites. Goodfellas is up there. I think Goodfellas
That's a great film.
is fucking flawless. I mean, every single time I watch it, I just think the dialogue is on point, the structure, the way that he tells that story is just it holds up, and I just think it's phenomenal front to back.
Yeah, that's
So
a tough.
it's
That's a tough.
funny you should mention Goodfellas, because Apple Box, there's a particular scene when the chap comes in and he interrupts Jimmy. But it's black and white though. But was that an inspiration? I just thought that is Goodfellas right there.
Oh,
It is. And so,
you think it's Joe Pesci? You think it's Joe
yeah.
Pesci?
So Jimmy,
the way Jimmy is, it
is Joe Pesci-esque. Yeah. So Jimmy and I we were trying to come up with as many different instances that we could where it was like, oh, I've seen that movie. Oh, that was that guy, and he was on an Apple Box, without with paying homage, without ripping it off and making it seem so outlandish. So what was funny about that scene is that actor had come prepared. We rewrote it on the spot. It was a whole different scene to begin with. We had always planned for Jimmy to be that Pesci-esque type character, the cigars and everything, and 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 we knew we were going to land on a freeze frame. But I can't remember what the scene was, but it was entirely different. And the actor had come in and he had prepared and he was going to speak Italian and all this stuff. And for whatever reason, it wasn't working. And Jimmy and I were like, all right, guys, give us 5 minutes. And we rewrote it just right there on the set, on the spot, and came up with that. And we were like, how many? Jimmy's like, how many breakaway glasses do we got? The bottles. I need to crack them over the head. Oh, we got 4. Great. We got 4 takes. All right, we're gonna do this. Ricky, let's go. Roll the camera. And it was like, okay, here we go. I think him busting him on the head was ad-libbed. I mean, it was candy glass, but
That's brilliant.
it wasn't supposed to happen at that moment. And oh God. Yeah, that was our Goodfellas for sure.
brilliant.
Yeah,
No, thank you for that. I was just when you said Goodfellas, I thought,
yeah.
Was there a link? And yeah, no, thank you for that, Rick.
Yeah.
Well, we got 3 really good movies there, and I can see why. As a film buff, which you clearly are, Rick.
I mean, there's so many good ones out there. I mean, it's just like it's impossible to nail it all. 1917 is incredible.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah.
So is there a director is there one standout director that you would absolutely kill to work with?
Ron Howard.
Nice.
Oh,
Ron Howard, I find to be, I don't know. I don't love all of his films, to be fair. It's not like I think everything he does is amazing. I'm like the rest of us. He's an artist. I'm sure he doesn't think everything he does is amazing, you know. But I find his storytelling, I don't know, I resonate. There's something about it. Every single time I watch Apollo 13, I think they're not going to get home. Every single time I'm waiting for them to bust through the atmosphere. That's great storytelling. That's fantastic, you know. I just think he is such a prolific filmmaker. I just watched again the other day, Cinderella Man. God, that's a good film. I'd forgotten how good that was. And I don't know what he does. You know, we've worked with a lot of the same people. I've never met him. I'm 1 degree from him, but there's something about what he does and the way he elicits performances and the way he crafts his films. I just think is terrific. So I don't know. He's definitely up there for me, for sure. Another one that I quite enjoy on a comedy level is Sean Levy. You know, he did the Deadpool movies or the recent one and the Adam Project, and I just think he's an excellent director. I'd love to work with him sometime. Yeah. There's so many good directors out there who it'd be a joy to meet them, let alone work for them. Yeah.
No, I mean, that was sort of my question as well, Nick, to be honest with you, is that, I mean, should we wrap her up? We've had him for about an hour and a half, and
Did you get all your Brooklyn questions in, Leighton? I
yeah,
mean, I
no,
know you
you've
can
you've
edit
probably
it
talked
back
about it
in
a million
later.
times, and it's
Yeah.
just listening to you talk, you've just covered off everything in my head anyway, to be honest with you.
And did you have any questions about, again, I know you can chop this all together. You're going to have to, it's going to be way too long. The paper, any questions on that?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, I have actually. It's such an icon. It's a follow-on from such an iconic show, and spin-offs are really hard.
Yeah.
How, in terms of photography, it's still got the same vibe. That the story is still the same, and is
Yeah.
that what you're trying to recapture? Because I feel like he does, and it does, but it still feels like it's a different show. Do you?
Yeah.
I suppose the question is, are you trying to follow The Office, or are you trying to be something different but with Office roots? I hope that makes
It's kind of
sense.
different with Office roots. I mean, the fact that you said that it feels the same but different is actually a tremendous compliment because I feel like that's what we're trying to achieve. It's really very focused on it being a documentary. And so the trick is, every take the operators need to perform as if it's the first time, react and respond as if it's the first time they're seeing the actors perform the scenes and say the lines that they're saying and catch reactions that maybe weren't in previous takes. So you really have to kind of peel off any guard that you have and live in the moment and be open and ready to everything. I mean, the way we light that show is so that we can look 360 at any given time to catch something. And there are times when a camera will whip through equipment or whip through the other operator, and because the whip is fast enough, you can't see it. If the whip is too slow, you can see it, and we don't like that. It's like there are certain rules that we play by in order to achieve it, but we also, we don't want to ever call attention to it. I mean, I work really hard on making it sort of just follow the theme of the story, which is what the showrunners came up with, which is a sense of hope. These characters, Ned Sampson in particular is going after, revitalizing this newspaper in this small town in Ohio. And that's sort of an old bag. It's yesteryear's game, in a world where technology is running everything. And so there's a real sense of hope there with what his plight and his mission and rallying the troops around him to sort of support this goal. And so I try to reflect that too with just the general vibe and feel. And we work very collaboratively. It starts with the showrunners, Greg and Michael, and what they want to see, and then it filters on down from there with the scripts that come out and all the producers and the writers and the cast. It's a very collaborative show that I'm incredibly proud of. It's a lot of fun to do. But yes,
it's a wonderful
because
cast.
It's I mean, and it's a spin-off in a sense that there's a connection that it's the same documentary crew that followed these new people, and then Oscar is sort of the carryover thread, having moved from
Yeah.
Scranton to Toledo, but it is its own show, so
Yeah.
so it does have a slightly different feel to it. We wanted to sort of have
It does. It really does. I mean, there is an Office feel to it, but it's again, it is very different to The Office. And
yeah,
I think what makes it great is you've got it is a wonderful cast. I don't think there's any weak link amongst it. And I have to highlight, and Nick might know him, or is Tim Key, who
Tim
plays
is
Ken
amazing.
Davis.
Yeah,
I know
Tim's
him from
amazing.
Alan Partridge over in the
Yep,
UK as his
that's right.
sidekick Simon. Brilliant.
Yep.
So to see him across the
He and
pond doing something like this,
he and
it's
Bemi are both from across the pond. They're both from London. And then Sabrina's from Italy, from Rome.
yes,
And then
White
we've
Lotus
got
girl,
Donal.
woman. Sorry, woman from White Lotus.
And
Yeah,
then Donal is from Ireland.
Ireland.
So we've got four. We've got a wonderful half our cast is international. It's great. It's wonderful. Yeah. Now
No, it
Tim
really
is
is.
Tim is great fun. He's he can ad lib with the best of them. He's just great.
Have you watched any of his Alan Partridge stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. He's great in that. And then I didn't realize he was in I just caught he was in Afterlife as too. He was in an episode.
Oh, is he?
He played across who's the woman? Diane? She's just got a new show that's come out, Android. Diane, she's
Was
a
she the
comedian.
prostitute?
No. The one who she's the office one with the glasses who's always
Yes. Oh,
Diane Morgan,
she's
I think is
brilliant.
her.
She's brilliant.
So good. I saw her at the BBC Comedy Fest in Liverpool a couple of months ago, and her new show is going to be amazing. Um, Plug for that, and I'm not even on the show. It's on iPlayer, Android.
Not,
We should probably wrap up. We've had Rick on for a long. I mean, we could chat all fucking night. I mean,
Yeah, we
know.
could easily. You're going to have loads to edit from. Sorry for that, but
I
No.
don't think I don't like it. I think everything is gold. I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all wonderful conversation. Absolutely.
I don't particularly think we need to edit. I think everything is gold because it sounds, it's natural. It's a chat.
Yeah.
And Rick, I just want to say a thank you from both of us.
thank you.
It's been incredibly fun. You have such an amazing career. You've achieved so much. And
Well, likewise, I was thrilled and honored when you guys reached out. I know that you guys have been doing this podcast for a while, and so when you reached out, I was like, me? Okay, great. Yeah, I didn't do Band of Brothers, right? I was just thrilled that you were coming at it from a purely, authentic point of view. This is great.
We're spreading our wings more just away from that. And we want guests on that we actually want to chat to, and we think that
not that we don't want to chat to, if they're in something, but it's more of what Nick is saying is that's the straight line through, but there's so many more stories out there in yourself. And I couldn't believe you were following the page. So I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I think
you're an incredible guest.
I found you guys because I saw something that Mike Cudlitz had done something and liked something, or I don't know. Somehow it came across to me through Mike, and so then I was like, oh well, let me check these guys out. So and I liked what you had to do there.
Nice.
So thank you for reaching out to me. It's I'm thrilled, for anyone who wants to listen to me for even 5 minutes is something that I'm grateful for. So
you're fascinating.
That's incredible.
You mentioned, I will say real quick, you mentioned when I was bringing up the DPs and you had mentioned George Greiner. Yeah. I just saw him. He's getting on in years, but I got to show him when I went back to Utah to shoot a feature last summer with the director and producer out of LA. But it was really nice and sort of serendipitous that the movie was being shot in Utah, and I got to go back there and shoot a movie and have George come by the set.
Nice.
Something that I was shooting was really quite special, and he's another one. He and Matt Williams and T.C. Christensen. I mean, there's so many people, from up there who taught me so much that I don't know.
I'm sure you made him incredibly proud.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. But that's what, like Aussie said, that's how you pay all those guys back. You pay it forward.
Yeah.
And you do things like you jump into a pod with a couple of Taffs. How's that? There's your sound bite.
That's brilliant. We're using that. We're stealing that one.
Are you fans of Wrexham? I need to know that. Are you too far south?
I've always followed them because my old I follow the Welsh teams in the English pyramid system.
Yeah. But
my old boss from about 15 years ago was a Wrexham fan. So I weirdly used to talk to him about Wrexham. This is when they were just a terrible team. So I wouldn't say, I'd say follow. I have got a few of their shirts as well. And I like the new shirt. So yeah. Yeah. You saw Nick, what about you? I think you're a Swansea fan.
Because so in Wales, there's a bit of a north-south rivalry.
Right. I know. Yeah. And you're in the south, right?
Yeah. I've lived in England longer than I lived in Wales. I left Wales when I was 19 to go to London to drama school. What am I? 49, nearly 50. So there's a north-south divide. So Wrexham, for me, us South Walians just consider Wrexham to be full of English people.
Yeah, I get told off. Fair enough. One of my mates, Joe.
I'll probably get in trouble for this, but we don't really see them as real Welsh. They're just half Scouse and half Mancunians.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure they have a hard time. I would imagine, just knowing how it is over there, they must have a hard time with the whole Hollywoodized. You know, they were bought by a couple of Hollywood moguls, and so they're having to like, no, but we're real players. You know, we're not. You know, it's
listen,
not
Rick,
just them. You know,
they're fucking flying.
they're incredible.
They've been promoted 3
Yeah.
or 4 seasons in a row.
Yeah, you can't. That's not just Hollywood magic there. That's true grit. That's true grit. I got to see them play when they were out here a couple of years ago. They were in Santa Barbara, and we drove up and saw them play, and that was good fun. But
it's brilliant. But what I find surreal is, though, I don't know about you, Nick, is you see all these celebrities go into Wrexham. I mean, I'm not going to tell, you know, it's not a great, it's quite run down.
Yeah.
But you're seeing Will Ferrell there, you're seeing Hugh Jackman there, you're seeing Colin Hanks there. The amount of, I think David Beckham has been, I don't, you know, but you're seeing all these. I'd love to know what they think of Wrexham as a town. I mean, I don't want to say this derogatory, but it's insane, and I like to think it is really pumping economy, and it really is bringing it up. But it's just so weird. I've been to Wrexham quite a few times when I go up north on holiday. Stopped by Wrexham a few times, and I think one of the last times I did buy his shirt. So, and then my mate Joe, if he's listening, he gave me grief when he saw me wearing it because he's a Newport County fan. But it's just so surreal seeing all of these players fly in to what Paul Rudd, another one, just watching Wrexham play. It's just so surreal.
Yeah.
So listen, before we end up here, I'm actually dying to take a leak. I've got a new question that I'm going to try and end this on, and it might work, it might not. I'm going to try it. What's your go-to karaoke song, Rick?
Oh, God. My go-to karaoke song.
We're ending on this. So just you got to life. You got to go in. You have to sing a song. What are you singing?
Oh my God. How the hell am I going to come up with this? How about Only the Young by Journey?
Yes.
Oh.
Leighton, what are you singing?
Oh gosh, I was going to go. I think it's because I got Alan Partridge in my head. I was going to go Willie Nelson's Always on My Mind. Not Elvis, not Pet Shop Boys, but Willie Nelson.
Nice. Right, and then this is where we're going to sign off from now on.
What about you, Nick?
I'm singing Green Green Grassophone by Tom Jones.
Oh, lovely, Tom Jones, lovely. Love it.
Good one.
That's a great song.
Rick, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Rick.
Likewise, guys. Call anytime. Thank you so much. I'm glad we're friends now. I appreciate it.
We are friends. We're friends. You're in the circle. You're in the circle.
All right. Sounds great. I love it.
Listen, lots of love, and I look forward to see what's next, and I can't wait to see more of your work.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Same, Rick.
The time. Have a great one. Thanks. We'll talk soon.
You too, Rick. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.